talking. Hi everyone and welcome to episode 38 of TeachTechPlay. I'm Eleni Kyritsis and I'm the host and founder of TeachTechPlay. Today we have a fantastic show with some fantastic educators from around the world. It's a very big UK edition, I think, today, but I think that's because I got to meet some amazing people at BET last month. Now, before we kick over and everyone introduces themselves, I just want to remind everyone that it is 1 month until the TeachTechPlay conference. So please make sure that you get your ticket and you do not miss out. So the conference is in April and you can get more information from our website. And we do have Kasey today and she is one of our keynote speakers. And Mark has made an appearance again tonight for our show. So he can explain a little bit more about the conference as well when he talks. But definitely get your ticket. They're selling fast and you do not want to miss out. And after the show, make sure you head to our website and vote for your favorite presentation. So that's enough from me. I will kick over to our presenters, but before I do, huge congratulations to our episode 37 winner, Kathleen Morris, who shared last month where to get safe images online. Now, some of you may be wondering why we have Mark Anderson back 2 episodes in a row. And if you weren't aware, he had a bit of a failure in last month's episode, but all good. So Mark, do you want to say hello and explain what happened?
Hi everybody. I presented last month a really brilliant tool called Vocal Recall. And in summary, it essentially allowed you to stick a QR code onto a piece of work. You could record your voice and you could bind that audio file to the QR code. It did really well as a product in the BET Futures arena at BET. Really, really popular. And then as the day the last episode went live, so there were a few problems with the company and the app was then no longer available. So I'm here to try and win again, because last month it was just so terrible. It was like the epic fail. That said, though, it is a really good product, and said there have been some problems with them, which if you check them out on Twitter at Vocal Recall app, that will explain everything that's been going on there. But it's coming back in a week or two, rebranded as Class QR. So please do keep a lookout for it.
Yeah, really definitely. And obviously starting school back here in Melbourne or in Australia at the moment, I had just printed off all my QR codes, chopped them all out and was ready to go, and then disaster. So I will definitely be looking out for the next product that they bring out. So
they did say the QR codes will be able to carry on being used. If you've already got them, you can be able to use them when the new product comes out.
Perfect. That's good to know. So Joe, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you do? Because I am so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thanks, Eleni, for having me. My name is Joe. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called SamLabs. And what we've done is we've created these awesome electronic building blocks that allow us to learn about coding and STEAM in a really hands-on fashion, but allowing us to progress from a really beginner level, in which you're really taken by the hand to learn things like inputs, electronics, Boolean values, number values, all the way to learning about functions and then being able to be creative with technology. Do you want to have a look at what it looks like?
We'll get everyone to just say hello and then get you to share.
I'm just so excited. I
know, and so am I. I know when I first saw this at BET, I needed to get my hands on it, and I'm so excited. I've been playing with it back here in Melbourne, and everyone who I've shown wants it. So very glad to have you on the show. Craig, do you want to say hello?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm representing Southern Hemisphere today, taking on these Brits.
Yay.
I'm Craig Kemp, Head of Educational Technology. I live in Singapore now and originally from New Zealand, but excited to be here today. I've been begging to come on here for a long time, and every time we've tried to do it, it just hasn't worked out for one reason or another. But I'm super excited to be here today.
Perfect. And yeah, we're glad to finally find a date that works to get you on the show. Adam, do you want to say hello? I was delighted to meet you and work with you on the BET stand, which was lots of fun. And I said I had to get you on the show.
Yeah, it was definitely great fun, wasn't it, being at BET and obviously working with the rest of the Google team. My name's Adam. I'm currently here in the UK. I've worked both in the UK and worked overseas in a number of different international schools. Currently working in the university sector, giving guest lectures and an associate tutor. But I also do some work for apps events. But today I'm going to be going away from my sort of love of Google Forms and the rest of the G Suite platform and look at something a little bit different for us PE teachers.
Perfect. And we love our PE teachers on TeachTechPlay. So I know we have a very big Aussie PE team down here that you know as well. So it's great to have you here. And last but not least, we've had you before, Kasey, but we are delighted. I just have to get you again before the conference because I need everyone to know what wonderful things you're doing before you actually get down to Melbourne.
So, hey, y'all, I'm feeling a little left out here. I have the wrong accent for today's episode, I think. So I'm a little bit jealous of the BET community that you got to participate in. I've never been to that conference. I would love to go. I just got back from TCEA, which is our big conference down here in Texas, and I'm worn out from it, but I am super excited to be on again. And I'm a digital learning consultant in Texas, but I get to travel around and help teachers all over the country and get to visit other countries occasionally as well. So I'm very excited to be coming there in a couple of months. So in your intro, you said 1 month, which sort of scared me there for a minute. It's just a little bit longer, right?
Well, yeah, a couple weeks longer because obviously this episode won't air till the start of March. So
yes. I was like, okay, wait, our months are still the same. So.
Yes. So in a couple of weeks, this episode will air. We're just pre-recorded. So
gotcha.
You've got a few more weeks.
Okay. Just
Perfect.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So we might kick off with SamLabs. So Joe, when you are ready, let me know and I will start the timer.
All right, I'm ready. I was really keen when I first introduced myself. I'm so sorry, but now I'm ready as ever.
Perfect. Off you go.
All right, so I'll start. I'm gonna tilt my my screen to be able to show you what we've got. So we've got here a few SAM components. These are wireless electronic blocks that allow us to connect to an interface and start creating. They come in these really neat kits. So that's the SAM Steam kit. We've got the SAM Classroom kit, which we've just launched, which is a beast of a kit. It's got 47 blocks, 127 accessories, 30 lessons that go with it, and even more projects on our website, and basically teaches coding from zero to hero to both students but also teachers. And the way it works is the following. We start with a very neat little app that you can find on any device, Android or Apple. And the way you work through it is simply by starting through little games. So that's a little game using a button that I just turned on here. And as soon as it's turned on, it shows up on the interface. It loads. And once it's fully loaded, we can actually see that it makes me go through an interface. That interface teaches me about Boolean values. When I press on the button, something activates and deactivates here on the screen. It's going through this little game that I can teach my students about, well, buttons in general, where they sit in our context, if they sit on light switches, on keyboards, on remote controls, but also that a button has two states, an activation and deactivation stage. You can then go and start learning about functions. And here what I'll do is I'll quickly skip over past a few exercises where we learn about tilt sensors and sliders, about pickup trucks, and going forwards and backwards with different functions. And I'm going into a new system called the race car system and the police car, which is a great system, including lots of different functions that we will have learned about using the previous little examples. But here I'm seeing on the screen a few animations on how to turn everything on. So I've turned on my button, I've turned on my tilt sensor, I'm now turning on my two motors over here, and also my little light. And I can see very quickly that I can start unlocking functions. So this is an advanced system. I would have unlocked previous ones before to learn about them. But when I connect my controller this way, I can see that I've unlocked a few different functions. So I've got my car here, I've got my controller, and now I can actually see that my car changes depending on how I'm using my controller. So here I'm going to make it turn one direction, another direction, And this is a way to start learning about functions, about variables, and about constants. Now, I don't know how I'm doing with the timing, but there's much more to the app. I've gone from learning with little arcade games about different inputs and outputs. I've learned with step-by-step exercises about functions and systems. And I just want to show you a last thing that ties back with our lesson plans.
1 minute.
Are we okay with the timer?
Yeah, 1 minute.
1 minute, fantastic. So here, I'm showing you what we call the SAM Space app. And the SAM Space app allows me to connect a whole host of things on my interface and start connecting them. So now I'm going to connect with the motors, I'm going to connect with the button, and I'm going to connect with the lights. Now I can drag everything on my interface. So I've now got a button, I've got a motor, and also a light over here. I can connect them together simply by dragging them on the interface. So I've dragged them all on the interface, and I'm connecting this button to this light over here by drawing a line on my interface. And I've done the same thing with the motor. So if I press on my button now, suddenly I've got things happening in real life. This is just through wireless connections that I can start changing, and I can start changing the variables of these connections very quickly on my interface. I've got a whole host of functions going from computer functions, command functions, coding functions, behavior functions, even timing functions and Boolean logic functions. And I can start mixing and matching them to solve different things. Here I'm creating a little disco ball of a little light that changes color every time I press. I can see that my motor should start moving clockwise or anti-clockwise. I can start putting conditional values as well to create more and more complex functions. So that's a 4-minute, very quick description of SamLabs. It all ties back to lesson plans, key learning outcomes that are tied back to a national curriculum from the UK to the US with core standards, and also all the way to Australia. All right, I hope that was a concise explanation of SAM, how you go from basic arcade games to learn about the tenets and the basics of coding and electronics, all the way to more advanced functions and systems, and to a creative interface that allows you to tie these functions back together to solve challenges that a teacher might suggest.
Thank you. And I must say, when you first showed it to me and we went through the games together, it was amazing that you can teach these to students so young, and then as they develop through, it continues to develop their understanding. And I think that's something that, especially here in Australia, there are a lot of gadgets and a lot of tools that you use, but they don't quite develop as the students are developing and continue to allow them to grow. And when I saw this, I just thought the potential is amazing. And, you know, even when you go on the website and you have a look at some other creations and how simple it looks, so complex, and then you look at what is actually involved in it, it's quite achievable by any kids. So I am so excited to have met you and to have you on the show sharing. Now, it is coming to Australia. I know that it's happening. So keep an eye out, Australian educators, because it's on its way. I know it's available in the UK already, and I imagine it's available in the US.
Absolutely, yeah.
Perfect. And keep an eye out and follow SamLabs. Did any of our other presenters have any questions?
I've got a comment, if that's all right, rather than a question.
Yeah.
Just to back up, I was very lucky to get hold of Sam's Curious Cars kit a little while ago, and I've sort of taken it on the road and shared it with quite a few people at various events. And everywhere I go, people just love the ability to just get in there and be really, really creative with it. You've got the construct of some of the earlier bits, which sort of scaffold you and take you through. But, you know, my own children, they're 6 and 8, and well, sorry, 7 and 8, because one of them's had their birthday today. But yeah, they've taken it away, and they just absolutely love it. And that ability to be really, really creative with it and sort of do what you want and sort of tinker around with things, to work things out, you know, it's absolutely brilliant. And so, yeah, I've highly rated myself as well. It's really, really good.
That's very kind, Mark. And this is what we've tried to do, but from an understanding that in the classroom, things do need to be learning outcome driven. And it's extremely important to have a bit of fun, but oftentimes teachers are challenged by, okay, what is the learning outcome of this activity, and what have we done? And sometimes, well, in the UK, how can we potentially assess it? And so we've tried to, of course, let a lot of space for creativity, a lot of space for exploration, but also give the teachers the structure and also the ability to prove that all of it is learning outcome driven and can also be assessed for learning later on.
And I must say, the lesson plans that come with it are very easy for any teacher, no matter what tech ability, to just implement in their class, which I think a lot of teachers fear, especially here in Australia with the new digital technologies curriculum. A lot of teachers have that fear of going, but I'm no good at coding. I never learnt it. I don't know. And it's not about that knowledge. It's about allowing kids to explore, and they can actually develop and learn it alongside you. And I think through your product, it is phenomenal. Were there any other questions, comments? No, easy. Well, Joe, I know you've got to run, so thank you for joining us on the show, and we absolutely love SamLabs, and I look forward to keeping in touch. So make sure you check out the website too. So thank you. So next up we have Adam. So Adam, when you are ready, share your screen and I will start the timer, and you'll be sharing with us today teaching anatomy.
Okay, are you ready?
I am ready, so off you go.
Okay, let's go. All right, I tried to think of something a little bit different from my sort of Google stuff that I'm always talking about. And when I go and do workshops with teachers, and I'm really lucky, I get to travel quite a lot working with teachers. I was like, how can we look at anatomy? And I really think that when teaching anatomy, we need to look at the bigger picture and try and engage, sometimes come away from the books and use technology to hook that learning. So the two things I'm going to show you today, this was a fact that I found that only 4 in 10 high school students are actually engaged. So let's see how we can use technology to hook the learning. So this first one is called Human Anatomy Atlas. Let's see if this video will load. So what we can do is we can really start to look at more like the high school level. Now there is a cost to this, but in terms of the actual value and the stuff you can do with it is brilliant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my iPad with you, just show you very quickly. So if we go to systems, and actually we're going to go to this sort of gross anatomy lab, and obviously looking at the heart and the lungs, we can literally have our own sort of biopsy table, which really takes it to another level. And then we can zoom in. But the real nice bit about this is we can add some AR to it. So here we are on the floor. Let's get this body in here. So now we can start to have a look around the body. We can go inside. We can take bits apart from it. And literally the graphics are excellent. And we can also annotate on this. So let's go inside the lungs. So now we can have a look inside the heart. And just the level of detail is literally unreal. And you can have, especially teaching the theoretical side of physical education, we can also have the muscle actions as well. So let's get some shoulder abduction in there, and we can move around and have a look. So rather than just using a textbook, we can now use the AR within this and bring the learning to life. Okay, next one. That's for your secondary. Next one I want to show you is I got talking to the guys at BET, and they showed me this one, which was based really more for your primary school age students. And you get a really nice little kit with it. And basically it's got a couple of cards. It's got a couple of cards, and what you'll be able to do is, if I share my iPad with you, it's also got an AR feature. So here we are. Let's bring this one to life now. Here we go. So what we can do is get the body systems out. Let's go. And we can do that. We can go all the way around. We can literally go around each, but then you can also go the other way as well. So when you bring it back, you can actually go the other way. And I just think this is going to be completely a lot more engaging than learning about some of these from the book. You've also got down here, this is the set that it comes with, and you get a number of cards, interactive cards that work with the app, and you can learn about each system along with the little human being that goes with it. And that is 4 minutes.
It
Boom,
is.
done.
Correct. And the buzzer is about to go off right now. Perfect timing. Now, I must say that app is really cool. And I spoke to the same guys at BET, and I actually got some of their space cards, which is phenomenal when teaching about the solar system, because you can really get into the planets and things out of space and bring it to life, which I think is really, really exciting. But I didn't get a chance to look at that one. So I'm glad you shared that and showing both the apps for both the primary and the secondary. Now, those prices, were they UK prices or US dollars? Do you know?
US dollar prices.
Perfect. Thank you. So I know that engaging kids today is very difficult in the classroom. So the way you showed us those apps, especially for PE or even science, biology, or whatever subject you teach that you have to look at anatomy, I think engaging kids through that way makes it meaningful, and they can actually remember it as well, which is really helpful. Did anyone else have any questions or comments?
I just thought it was so impressive with just the ability to look at different aspects. I wish I'd had that. It's amazing.
Yeah, I feel a little bit jealous of the kids in classrooms today, what they're able to do and the way they're able to learn. I wish that was around when we were at school.
Totally. I think it just adds that next dimension, doesn't it, to learning, rather than just from the textbook or even from the sort of OHPs that I remember.
Yeah.
And at what time does it start in primary school? At what age does it start?
Say that again, sorry?
At what age would it start at primary school?
It depends. They could be using that within a science lesson, not just physical education. I'm obviously from a PE background, but obviously coming across these two, I showcase a lot of different things when I do a workshop with teachers. But within 4 minutes, I can't do too many. So I thought these two were probably the best two out of the ones that I've currently come across.
I think it just depends what your purpose is. For me, I'm teaching about space, so those space cards are the best thing for me. But obviously, I think our 5/6s are doing a human body, sort of looking at the anatomy and changes and everything. So that would be perfect for them. So thank you for sharing, Adam. And we will move on next. So Mark, take 2. Let's see what you're going to show us today.
Okay, brilliant stuff. So I'm really pleased to be able to share with you today. Really excited to share with you an app, an app called Figments. And I was really keen to try and sort of share some AR or VR apps during the session this time, because like we've seen there with Adam's presentation, it can make a real connection with learners when they're trying to sort of connect with the subjects that they're covering. So I want to share this app with you here called Figments, and I've got a few videos inside this presentation because I'm not as brave as Adam to do a presentation live mirroring at home. So the Figment enables you to basically drop in different AR elements into your space wherever you are. Now you can do this in lots of different ways. So here's an example here. So look, I mean, that's just a little bit of fun, but you can use it in lots of simple ways for storytelling, for sort of working with characters, retelling stories, sort of helping you support things with your writing and oracy, lots of things. But one of the features which I absolutely massively love is this ability to put portals in that you can then walk through and then go into a 360 space. So what I've done with this particular video is I've created a space. And you can hear me talking in the background. Hopefully I won't overrun. I'll turn the volume down a little bit. But this door here, I can walk through that door in my lounge. And once you walk through that portal, you're then actually in the space. And so here you can see me in the BET Futures arena. I use my 360 camera to take a photograph there in the Futures area after things are sort of closed down on a Friday night. And when you sort of come to sort of look around, you can see the whole 360 experience. And what you can do once, you should see this in a second, there's Simon Blower in the background from Pobble, Ollie Lewis with me as well, and Sophie Bentley from the EdTech podcast. Oh, there's me telling you can see Simon. Let's see if I just fast forward this video a little bit so we can see the next little bit. So yeah, there's the portal down the bottom here coming back, and that's back down into my lounge. And let's just see who's in there. You can see my boys in there in the lounge. Now, you can do all of this within the app. It's absolutely fantastic. Moving from one space to the other. Now, if you, hello boys. Now, if you're doing this sort of thing, you can use it for exploration. If you've got a 360 camera, you can use it as an interesting and innovative way to go back through from your classroom back to where you were on that field trip. You can use it to relive memories and things you've been doing in the school, so many different things. And you can use it obviously for inspiration and engagement should you need to do that in your classroom as well.
1 minute.
But, I wanted to sort of wrap it up just by sharing this, because I thought, well, if Adam can do 2 apps, I can do 83 apps, or 82 apps if you include the Figment one here. Look, I developed this periodic table. If you're looking for some iOS apps to use on your with AR and VR in your classroom, there's a whole bunch of them here. You've got STEM, geography, art, science, different topics. I just look for different coloured background here, and that will then take you through to where you can find it online. If I just click on the Figment one here as well, it should take you to a thing link that I've made. And you'll find on here that you can hover over any of these apps on here, and it will then take you to that on the App Store, so you can then find it and use it and what have you. So that's me pretty much done. Thank you very much. And I think it's about 4 minutes.
With 20 seconds to spare. So well done.
Not too bad.
Not too bad at all.
Stop the share. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And I think, you know, creating interesting stories for kids today is always challenging. I think, you know, teaching my kids at the moment, a couple of them just say they absolutely hate writing. And I think if we show them and create provocations and create situations that really engage them and make them think this is pretty cool, it will enhance their writing even further and add those interesting things that we want to see within their writing. Has anyone else got any comments or questions? No? Nice and easy, off the hook. But yeah, there are thousands of VR apps, and I know you showed me, you know, there's books that you can read and then they bring them to life as well. So definitely check out your periodic table, because there are heaps there as well, which is really, really exciting.
Yeah, and it's super easy to make that stuff. Like I sort of knocked that out this evening just before my boys went to bed, ready to sort of showcase with you tonight. But I've seen other teachers using it in ways around stories like the Gruffalo, where they're using the app to actually take you through into the Gruffalo's forest, and they sort of take these photos in the forest and then manipulate them in 360. Yeah, it's just something completely different, which gives a whole brand new slant on how you can work with these sorts of stories. It's brilliant. Yeah. I should do a shout out as well. I didn't make that periodic table by myself. I made it with another Apple Distinguished Educator called Stephen Banbury. So I just wanted to do a shout out to Steve, because it's only fair. We did it together.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark. Now, next up is myself. So let me share my screen and I will get started. Okay, so obviously Bet was lots and lots of fun, and I came across an app or an extension in the Chrome. Let me start my timer, because I will keep going and just talk all day. It's called Equatio. Now, a lot of people have heard of text help, and a lot of schools are using text help, which I know, especially here in Australia. But this is even better, and it brings maths to life. So where you get it from is you simply go to the Chrome web store and you download it as an extension, and it just lives up here in your Chrome browser. Now, I'm just going to show you an example. So when I click on this extension, it actually appears down the bottom. And the great thing is, especially with touch devices these days, you can actually write. So I know whenever I'm doing maths with my kids, it's really, really hard to get them to do maths equations. So here I've simply drawn my equation, and then I can simply insert that into my document, which is nice and handy. Now, clearly 2 + 3, I teach primary, nice and easy, but you can do some fancy things in here as well. Now, I'll just clear this and now, let's see how much I remember of my, so here you can see I'm simply adding variables, and it can show different things. So I can add another one, and it will show the angles and everything. My teacher who taught me maths in year 12 is probably going, how do you not remember what all this is called? But obviously when you don't use it, it goes away. So here you can see I've just inserted that graph straight away into my document, which is really, really cool. But the other thing I absolutely love with this is if you click down here on the bottom and go try Equatio Math Space, it actually gives you so many more options. And in here is where it gets really, really cool, because you can actually share it with Google Classroom with your class and set them assignments. So if I simply set something up like label all the angles, all right, and insert that in. So here's my title up here, and then let me just move this out of the way. And then I can click on shapes and I can insert a shape. When I hit the share button here on the right, I can make a copy for each person and expect a response, continue. And you'll see here it provides you with a unique link, or you can share it directly to Google Classroom, which is really, really handy as a teacher. Then when the kids come back in through Google Classroom, when the save button changes to a share with my teacher, but then the kids can come in and actually freehand and draw over it. So they can go in and label all their angles and show their understanding. But the other great thing that is in this app is the fact that, I'll just clear everything here, is all the functions in here. So you have basic shapes, but then you can go through it and you have 3D objects. So simply being primary teacher here, I can get my kids to label all the vertices, and everything else with my 3D objects. I've also got pulleys, I've got pictures, seesaws, arrows, coordinates that kids can label, which is nice and easy for them. And the best part about it is, I don't know about anyone else, but when teaching fractions to younger kids and getting them to create something with equal segments is always an interesting time. They can create some really interesting things. But what you can do here is the kids can simply come in and show you. So here I've got 2/4, and that is, gone a bit out here. That is the same there. So they can actually show you different fractions, compare fractions, and you've also got all the advanced features as well for your older kids doing what they do. I'm not going to talk about that because, to be completely honest, I can't remember what all the functions are. But as a teacher, there we go, perfect timing. I think this is a great app, an extension that you can simply use to extend and use tech in the maths classroom. I know it's always hard for teachers sometimes to find ways to integrate it and include it in their Google Docs and everything else. And yeah, coming across it, it was probably one of my favorite little things I was sharing on the Google booth at BET. So I know, Adam, you and I were having a bit of fun with it one day there, seeing what we could do with it. So if you haven't seen it, make sure you do check it out. Did anyone have any questions or comments? No? Anyone else used it? We're very quiet.
Yes, me.
Yeah, clearly, Adam, I know you've used it.
Yeah, our teachers use it here in Singapore. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, especially the way it just links up with Classroom and everything else. So make sure you do check it out. That's me done. Next is you, Craig. So Craig, when you are ready, let me know and I will start the timer, and you'll be sharing with us today about Mystery Skype.
Okay, I think I'm good to go. Can you see my screen?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, so I am lucky enough to work with a whole bunch of teachers in a big school, 3,000 students in my school, but also get to travel the world and do lots of things with teachers all around the world. One of the questions I always get asked is, how do you make integrating technology purposeful and authentic? And it all comes down to me as student learning. So how do you engage students in learning that makes technology integration purposeful and authentic? And I always come back to one tool that has always stood out to me, and this is a bit of an old school tool, and I'm talking old school as in like 2013. But for me, engaging students is all about getting them excited about learning, and learning that is purposeful and authentic to learning outcomes. So one of these tools is Mystery Skype. Mystery location, mystery hangout, whatever you want to call it. It is all about, essentially, it's a global guessing game where kids ask yes or no questions to guess where people are around the world. So it's not only geography, but it's also question asking skills as well. Here, I've got an article here that you can go to that we'll link to later on about what Mystery Skype is. Super simple examples with photographs from examples that I've done, and also a video there as well. there's a whole horde of information within the Microsoft Education portal. You can also find this within Google Plus communities. There's all sorts of mystery location stuff in there as well. Doesn't matter what you're using. It's all about the purposeful, authentic learning that's going on. So the essence of it is global guessing game. I connect with another classroom somewhere around the world. I'm the only one that knows. Then it's completely student-led. So student agency here is key. So students ask yes or no questions, and the aim of the game is to guess where the other person is in the world. So I might be going up against a school in Australia, and my kids are going to be asking questions like, do you live in the Southern Hemisphere? Are you south of Melbourne? As they get closer and closer. So there's 3 sort of points here that we play. 1, guess the country. 2, guess the city. And if they're really good, I say to them, hey, let's try and guess the school. Because now with the digital age we live in, maps and atlases are too much. That you can't dig in, but you can open up Google Maps and you can be in there in an instant. So I've also created here, if I just go up here to my top screen, a little template for jobs that we have at my school that people can take as well, and I'll share this link out there. That's in just an editable Google slide that people can jump in and change. These are the job titles that kids have within our role. We've actually now the kids choose to eliminate the wall mappers and the atlas mappers because they're no longer purposeful, and put more kids on the Google Mapper role so that kids can be inquiring into where they are. Another great thing that we use is a job application form, and also we have a reflection form that allows kids to go back and reflect on what they've done. Something that I did a wee while ago was create a database. It's always hard to try and find those connections if you're not connected online. If you're not connected online, I always say, hey, tweet me, I'll share it out. I've got connections with amazing people like you can see here today, all around the world. Hundreds of people. It's all sorted by grade, by time zone, and the experience that people have. And you can click in and find their Skype details and be straight away and connected with them. Also online, there's tons of portals as well. That's my tool. Super simple, super easy. Yeah.
Perfect. And you had 20 seconds to spare. Now, I must say, I've done mystery hangouts or mystery Skype. Same thing, just different platform with my kids, and they absolutely love it. Although, be careful. My one tip for teachers is, if you are a teacher who is online, the kids can also Google you, and then they use their research skills really well. So they find out who they're talking to and where they are very fast. So that was always a challenge I found when my kids hooked onto that little idea. So I had to hide my name and not use the teacher's name either. So
and it's actually a really cool tool to use for staff development as well. If you're wanting to get these tools out there to your teachers, do a mystery Skype or a mystery hangout with your teachers to other teachers somewhere around the world. What better way than seeing how it can be used than doing it themselves?
And exactly. And I also love, obviously I was at a PYP school that a lot of people know about, and we connected with other PYP schools and spoke about what learning was happening across the globe. So I think it's really exciting to connect classrooms and have kids share. You know, my kids were learning Japanese and they were teaching another school Chinese over Hangouts. So the ways you can connect the classrooms and share different experiences. I know here in Australia, especially in grade 6, that a lot of kids go to Canberra to learn about our government. And when they go there, it's good to hear what other people do and what they hear as well and share. So I've used it many, many ways, and I know it is a fantastic way to connect classrooms and break down, you know, those 4 walls in your classroom. Did anyone else have any comments or questions? Nope. Nice.
I think it's just great how we can use technology now to connect a number of different classrooms and see what goes on around the world. And obviously, like myself, I was on the international stage and sharing with other co-PE teachers. We do some health stuff, and I was in Saudi Arabia. So when they heard about what was going on, like very culturally compared to the US, it was definitely a culture shock for some of these students when you open the doors a little bit and let them see what actually happens out there for some of these kids.
Yeah, definitely, Adam. And I think that's really important to expose our kids to see things that are suitable, but connect them to places that they may never even go to. So yeah, definitely it is great. And last but not least for today's show, we have got Kasey Bell. And Kasey, you'll be sharing with us something interesting. I'm not going to spoil it, so I'm going to let you go and tell me when you're ready and we will start the timer.
Well, here's hoping that it's interesting. Going last, I mean, come on, no pressure with
I
all
must
these
say,
great ideas.
it's been a big episode this month. So good luck.
Yeah, I know I've been kind of quiet, but thank you all for everything that you've shared so far. Really, I mean, even things that I knew about it, you know, we went a little bit deeper, and so I'm always grateful to be on the show and to learn from the show. So really neat apps that I'm going to go try, and now I have money that I want to go spend on some new gadgets. So but I'm going to talk today about interactive learning menus, sometimes called choice boards as well. And so we're good. Everybody sees my screen, right? Okay.
Yep, perfect.
And so just to get us started, I have everything in a page on my website here. So shakeup.link/TTP38 is where you can find the links to all of the resources and everything and my information. But I always called these learning menus, and I think that's just because that was what I learned first, right? It's just that word that stuck in my head. But a lot of people call these choice boards, and they've been around for decades. And essentially, it's just a form of differentiated learning. And of course, it started on a piece of paper. Like here's some choices on things that you can do in class. Well, for me, I was a middle school teacher, and those first few years, I didn't know that every kid didn't have to do exactly the same thing at the exact same time like I did growing up. And so when the initiative for small group instruction came around in my school district, I'm like, okay, that's great. What are the other kids doing? Because nobody told me, like, how do you make that happen? Like, what is the class doing? And in the secondary world, that's almost like a foreign thing sometimes to teachers. You know, you see different things happening, I think a lot more in the younger grades. But so someone introduced me to the idea of learning menus, and I was like, oh, okay. So here's some choice, first of all. So building in that student ownership of learning, giving students some opportunities to learn in different ways, a flexible learning path to the learning goal. And there are a million different ways to use these, and I have lots of examples, of course, probably way more than I have time to share here. But the first and easiest for me was a Tic Tac Toe. If you can make a table, you can make a Tic Tac Toe. And just in case you don't want to make your own table, you can make a copy of my Google Docs. So, but what I love about Tic Tac Toe menus is they can be used for just about anything at any level. So you could do a Tic Tac Toe for like a 20-minute activity with those choices in there. Or, I mean, this could be like a longer unit. This could be culminating big project type of stuff. And so that was really my first foray into dipping my toes into the differentiated water. And my kids loved it. They're like, oh, Miss Bell, when do we get to do this again? It was like they had this sudden freedom that they'd never known before. And so I was slowly getting used to the idea and letting go of some of that teacher control that tends to take over, but to let kids, drive this activity. So whatever it is, the other thing is I do have a blog post on this as well. Now, this is just a table made in Google Docs. Of course, you can make tic-tac-toes in anything in Google, outside of Google, wherever you want to go. Well, if you click on one of these links, like this make a copy link, just real quick, in case anybody doesn't know the little force a copy link tip, I have this in here. So in the URL of a Google Doc or a slide, you can change the word edit to the word copy, and then copy and paste that link where you want it to go. For instance, that's what's on my website. And so when they click on that link, it will prompt them to make a copy of it, which was really great for a while, especially before Google Classroom came around to help get copies of things out instead of having to manually create these. Sharing, of course, still apply. You have to have it shared at least, anyone with the link can view. Well, there's only one problem with this little make a copy. You can't see what it looks like until you make a copy, unless you're going in and hacking the URL again. So a lot of people are like, I don't know if I want that. Well, I learned this other little trick too, where you can create a template link. And so I've started shifting some of my links to the template link. And you change the word edit to template/preview, and you get the little button that says use template. So then you can still see what it looks like and get that. It doesn't work great on mobile. FYI, kind of depends. So there's still instances to use both of these, but just in terms of sharing hyperdocs, learning menus, things like that, I just wanted to throw those tips in there. I do have some examples. So this is just a quick example of a novel study, Tic Tac Toe, that I did. I always use the middle as the non-negotiable, which gives me a little bit more control over making sure they reach every learning goal that I have in the path. So if they do number 5, they also have to do something in blue and something in yellow. So it kind of gives you a little more idea of how the learning design can work with a tic-tac-toe, because some teachers I think are afraid because my kids, first thing they would do is which way was the easiest way to complete the tic-tac-toe. That's, the kids in the room, they're like looking at it. Or, my pre-AP kids are like, which way is the path to the 100? No, Miss Bell, just tell me which ones to do. And so, I'm like, it doesn't matter. You get to choose. And so it's interesting because I've done this, with kids, but I've also done this with adults, and adults do the same exact thing as the kids. They kind of freak out the first time they have to make their own choice, but it goes far beyond the tic-tac-toe. This is one made with Bunsey, and it was for mitosis that another teacher shared with me, which I thought was super cool. So you can make them anywhere. This is one made in slides by a friend of mine, Tommy Spall, in Brenham, Texas. And this one's a little more app focused. And of course he made this, based on like a real restaurant type of menu where you choose an entree, an appetizer, beverage, etc., and you work through it. But it's really creative, and I think it will spark ideas even if you're not using the same content. He even has a little rubric in there and integrates Flipgrid and Padlet as well. And then this is an adult learning example from my friend Amber Tiemann, who's a principal, and she gave this to her teachers before they left for the summer. So just a bingo card of choices. And of course she had prizes associated with getting a bingo, but there's lots of different ways. It could just be a list. I mean, it's just a choice of ideas of ways to learn whatever it is that you're trying to learn in class that day, and to differentiate it by learning style, by level, by whatever it is that you want, but to give students some extra choice in there. So I have lots of additional resources in here. I keep a Pinterest board of learning menus, whether they have anything to do with technology or not. Those are there. Blog posts. I even go deeper and teach this a little bit more in a free ebook that I just released. So that's there, the 18 challenges. And so one of those is to become a learning menu creator. And so that's in there as well. But anyway, I'm a big fan of it. And I think there's a lot of ways to make these completely interactive, of course, with links, and hyperdocs are, sort of different. A lot of people get those confused. And I think that, a hyperdoc could include choice, but it may not. So you could have a learning menu as part of a hyperdoc, but I think those are sort of a separate package type of lesson. But
thank you, Kasey. And I know that I've used something similar, but I've never used the tic-tac-toe method before. So I know, I had something similar last week, and I even just put some QR codes there to videos and different websites of information when we were unpacking our new inquiry unit. And I think, I could have just put some more on there and created a bit of fun, because I know the kids absolutely love that. So it's always great to link that and to do that as well. So thank you for that. And you have so many resources already ready. And I think the way that you had color coded them and said, you have to do this one and one of the yellow and one of the blue, I think really good for kids as well, because it also gives them direction and not leave everything completely open, and gives you as a teacher knowledge of, hey, what can they do? Because I know, especially with, word knowledge sort of menus and things, they will go for the bubble words or the nice colorful ones rather than the ones that sometimes as a teacher you want them to do. So it's a great way to allow them to have that choice, but also direct them. Any other comments or questions from anyone?
Can I share something? I've done similar things myself as well.
Yeah.
Can I share my screen with you a second?
Yeah, go for it.
Brilliant. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been using, I can't share while Kasey's sharing.
There you go.
Brilliant stuff. I've been using challenge grids like this sort of thing myself. And what I do, based upon information that people I'm working with have told me about the staff that are in the school, people are given a sort of target total score. So after you've sort of delivered the PD to go in and do a different activity, and you have to achieve a score based upon the complexity of the activity. But also challenge grids. My partner has been sharing about these herself as well, and she links the scoring to retrieval practice. So basically, the ones that are in blue here are things from last lesson. Red, they're from last week, 2 weeks ago, further back, so forth and so on. And I think that's a really great idea. But also, this is a blog post here of mine. I've got templates.
Mark.
Whether it's like a training material type thing like we've got here, or something for yourself in class like Kate has done here, yeah, you're more than welcome to have a look at those.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark. And I think, you know, whether you do the color coding or the linking or the scoring, I think anything that engages kids today, and teachers have to be creative in the process, because, yeah, we know all our kids learn differently and they also need choice in their learning as well. So really great to see other examples. So thank you both, Kasey and Mark. Wow, Mark, you've come out with a bang now. Yeah, just in case something doesn't work this month, you've got a backup now too. Now, that actually brings us to the end of this month's show. I'm just going to quickly share my screen and remind everyone to make sure that you do vote for your favorite presenter. So make sure you head to our website, and you can find a lot of information on there about all these wonderful presenters plus more, and read our blog posts as well. But the main thing is make sure you do get your ticket, because they are selling fast. Mark has been there and Kasey will be there this year, so you can actually talk to her in person, as well as Tom Barrett and Emily McLean are our keynotes. So make sure you do jump in and get your ticket, and we'd love to see you all there. And I've got some sad news, because the conference is in April. We do not have an April episode of Teach Tech Play, so that makes you want to come even more. I know, to all our viewers, you just will have to make it to Melbourne to be there. So I won't actually see a lot of you, especially our international viewers, till episode 39, which will air in May. So apologies for that, but we just need a break as well. I can't do everything. So hope you all understand, and we will see you in May. And a huge thank you to all our presenters today. I know that there are so many things that I can take back and look at. And I was saying to a friend of mine the other day, I don't even care if no one really even watches Teach Tech Play, because I just see it as professional development for me, because every month when I invite these guys on, every month I learn something new. And I think that is what it's all about. You don't have to implement everything, but you may already be doing something and then hear something slightly different and make a slight change that improves your practice. So make sure you keep viewing and keep commenting and reaching out to these wonderful people. So huge thank you from Teach Tech Play, and we will see you at the conference. Thanks, guys.